Welcome back to Feeling Good Feels Good Wellness Mysteries. I'm your host, Dr. Tripp, and this is the podcast where we make feeling good feel simple. Each episode is one fictional patient, and every detail of the story is a clue. It's your job to follow along and figure out the solution before the reveal, and it's our job to break down what's going on after the reveal and make it super simple so that you can use this information right away. Today's patient is a fictional composite inspired by real clinical experience. Results vary, and nothing in this episode constitutes medical advice. I want you to meet Carly Costa, 38 years old, graphic designer in Philadelphia. And before she said a single word to me, I noticed something. She walked in and sat down right away. Most people just sit. They drop into a chair without thinking about it, but Carly lowered herself into a chair. The way you move, when you know if you lean a certain way, it's going to trigger a cascade of events. Those events being pain, something she did not want. She told me that she had upper back pain, both sides, but usually more on the right. And when it was bad, it was bad. Felt like a knife. And she had been dealing with this on and off for 6 years. She had work done on her spine, shoulder, middle back, and never really got an answer. I asked her to tell me a little bit more about what was going on. She said the pattern was always the same: mild, uncomfortable, annoying, but manageable. And it would be that way for weeks. Then something would tip and it would suddenly feel like she was getting stabbed in her back. And that would last for a couple of weeks, slowly getting better and better. One intense sensation, letting up over the course of a few weeks. Over time, she stopped trying to figure out what it was because nothing made consistent sense. It would come and it would go. She just waited for flare-ups now. I asked her about the bad ones. What did they feel like? She said they feel really bad, and then sometimes I actually feel like I'm having a heart attack. And it's not just back pain. She gets this feeling like something is seriously wrong, and she's been to the emergency room more than once. She didn't tell me how many times, but she just said more than once. She said they do a full workup every time. They look at my heart, EKG, ultrasound, x-ray my spine. Everything's clear. She always leaves with the same answer. It's probably just stress. But there's nothing structurally wrong that they can find. She said she just stopped going. She's embarrassed to show up with the same thing and leave with the same answer. While she was talking, I was watching the way that she was breathing. She was doing a lot of work with her shoulders, and they were basically getting higher with each inhale. Her belly and lower body barely moved, a classic pattern that we see in people who do have stress. And I asked her what her days looked like. She said hours at a computer, designing, editing. She said her husband told her recently that she was starting to look like a turtle, and she laughed because she completely agreed. The more hours she put in, the more her head drifts forward and her shoulders pull, so she feels herself rounding, like she's got a turtle shell on. She works out what she can. Running and push-ups are her most frequent exercise. She does yoga sometimes. She loves yoga more than anything, especially heart openers. Those are her favorite pose. She feels like it's a moment in the week where something releases. The twisting poses are ones that she generally skips. She said something about the twisting just makes her feel like she needs to protect herself, even if nothing is hurting. So the running and the push-ups are because she wants to do something and she can do them quickly, jump into them at any moment without worrying about having to take time away from her family or her work. I asked her if I could check her breathing. I watched the way she breathed and checked different joints in her body when she was breathing. I asked her to fill her lungs completely. And when I did this, her left side expanded very nicely, but her right side did not move as much. I asked her if she noticed that. She said she does not feel the difference. She has no idea. She looked at me and said, "Is that bad? Is it bad that my right side isn't moving?" I said, "It's just information helping us figure out what's going on. Now, let's have you rotate to the left and rotate to the right." She turned side to side, and she caught herself with a small wince. When she was rotating to her right, she felt a little pinch, and it stopped her. She said, "Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like." And I asked her to go the other way. Pretty smooth, not much going on. She looked like she felt comfortable. The same spine moving in completely opposite directions, producing completely different experiences. Every time she tried to run or do workouts, she felt exhausted, like she couldn't breathe fully, like she was in pain, and like she had no energy. So I started feeling the muscles and the joints just to the side of the spine. A few of them were pretty tender. She said, "Huh? I didn't know that was sore." I asked her when she stopped feeling like she could play. And what was it like before that? She said, tennis. She played a lot as a kid and she genuinely loved it. She was good, but the more competitive she got, the more her body worked against her. After matches, she always ended up completely laying flat on her back. That was the only thing that helped. She thought it was exhaustion. She also experienced asthma, and when that flared up during a match, That's when her pain became unbearable. Coughing, tightness, inability to take full breaths, all of it, all at once. And those moments are why she stopped playing. She said it like something that she had made peace with a long time ago. So I asked a little bit more about the asthma. She said she's had it since she was a kid, mostly under control now, but during COVID, some things changed. She had COVID multiple times, and each time the prolonged coughing brought back everything that tennis used to feel like. The stiffness, the short breathing, the feeling of a knife in your back. It was like something sleeping got woken up and refused to go back down. I asked her to take the biggest breath she could. She inhaled slowly. She got about 3/4 of the way full and stopped. She did start to move around and twist her body as if to try to release something. So I asked her to sit up straight and then arch backwards. Basically extend her back, try the same breath. She said, "Oh, that actually feels better." So I asked her about her home life. How was she managing to get through her day-to-day with all of this going on? She said her husband Adam was extraordinary. He was always doing stuff for her. He was always cooking. His favorite was making her stewed apples when she was not well. He was taking care of the kids when she was in a flare. She said that he takes such good care of her that sometimes his body starts hurting in the exact same way too. She laughed and said she felt terrible about it. So I poked a little bit more. I asked her, "How are you handling that?" And she started to get a little quieter. She said she works very hard not to let her kids see her in pain or anxious. She holds a lot in. And then she described something that clearly she had experienced many times. When she was anxious and her breathing gets fast and shallow, her back and her chest get worse. And when her back and her chest get worse, her breathing gets shallow and she gets anxious. She cannot tell which one starts it anymore. They just feed into each other. She's just in a loop and a cycle where it goes away and comes back. She said there was one time where she had a really good cry with her coach, and that gave her more relief than any stretch or exercise did. So clearly there was some level of stress and some emotional tie into her symptoms. But I didn't want her to leave just the answer of general stress. And then I asked her a question that surprised her. I said, "Does sneezing bother you?" She thought about it and said, "No, not really. Sneezing doesn't hurt that much." I nodded and just kind of kept quiet for a second and started to move on. Then she said, "Wait, it doesn't hurt when I sneeze, but maybe sometimes after I sneeze a lot, like allergy season, or when I had COVID and was coughing constantly, feels like something's different afterwards. Like something is off. Like the cycle gets a little bit worse after those incidents." I said, "That makes complete sense, and I'm going to explain exactly why so you can walk out of here with an understanding of what's been happening and how to take care of it." So do you have any idea what's going on? Is it crystal clear? Do you feel like you're far off? Do you feel like you're in the general wheelhouse? For my providers out there, I might have made this one a little too simple. The symptoms, and especially the name. For anybody who's studied medicine, I want you to take a second look at the name if you really think that you don't have it. Carly Costa. It's the last name that gives it away. But Carly, I picked this because it was the name that reminded me most of cartilage. And the cartilage is what connects each rib to the sternum. It's the connective tissue on the chest wall. Her first name is the anatomy. Costa means rib in Latin. It is the root of costovertebral, costochondral, intercostal. Every clinical term for rib pathology contains that in her last name. She has been walking around named after the structure that has been killing her for over 6 years. Carly Costa, cartilage, rib. Her name was the diagnosis. Yes, for providers, I hope that you got this one pretty quickly. For folks who have not studied medicine or Latin, this may be a story that you can relate to, but now can understand and have power on how to treat it or how to help other people you know have a better idea of what's going on. Now here is what has actually been happening. Between each rib and the thoracic spine is a small joint. These joints allow the ribs to move with every breath, every rotation, every bend. And one of these joints sprains or is not moving properly, that joint locks up. And even the intercostal nerve running beneath the rib can get irritated. That nerve follows the rib all the way around the chest wall. The pain can appear in the back, or the side, or the front, or all three simultaneously. That is the chest pain that sent Carly to the ER, not in her heart. A small joint in her mid-back, which creates pain throughout the entire pathway of the rib. Nobody checked it. The sneeze does not hurt in the moment because the inflammatory response to the sneeze builds over hours afterwards. It's like an ankle sprain. You roll your ankle, you feel it a little bit, you keep playing basketball, and then when you get home, you take your shoe off and it blows up like a balloon. She never connected them because they never happen at the exact same time. But rib dysfunction and rib sprains come on fast and they hurt. The COVID cough, the asthma attacks, the tennis, 3 chapters of the same story. The rib joint is loaded by every forceful cough and every sneeze. Years of asthma attacks as a child, competitive tennis with the rounded shoulders pulling on the ribs in the middle back. Then COVID reactivated inflammation, coughing, sneezing, all of the things she felt as a child coming back in adulthood. Laying flat on her back after tennis matches was the only thing that helped. That position completely unloads the rib joints in her back. She had been self-treating through instinct since she was a child. Her body always knew, but nobody ever gave her the translation. The yoga heart openers that give her relief. These poses pull the rib cage in the opposite direction. She is no longer being pulled forward, and that alleviates pressure on the joints of the spine and the ribs. Her body found the movements in yoga class that worked and the ones that didn't. Twisting puts extreme pressure on the rib cage, especially where the ribs meet the spine. This felt terrible to her. She had been mapping her own diagnosis through yoga, and honestly, it's not that uncommon. I will often ask people who practice yoga which postures feel good and which postures feel painful, and that alone can provide lots of information. Because tennis and graphic design and sleeping on her side and doing push-ups all shorten the muscles in her chest, pulling the rib cage forward and putting too much stress on the joints where the ribs meet the spine. Now, what about the loop where she feels pain, which leads to anxiety, or anxiety, which leads to pain? She identified this herself, and it's not honestly that uncommon. When the joint becomes super inflamed, when it's irritated, she will not be able to take full breaths. She will have to breathe shallow, and shallow breathing activates the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight nervous system, which for some people may feel like anxiety. And when she experiences anxiety, that leads to shallow breathing. Shallow breathing and incorrect movement patterns in her ribs will lead to rib pain. So it doesn't really matter which one comes first. Either one can trigger this cycle. Do you remember when Carly said that she had a good cry with her coach and she felt relief? Yes, we think about emotional stress release, but crying is actually a forceful movement done by your diaphragm. This helps mobilize the part of the rib cage that she almost never moves. During this, she had an emotional release, but it also allowed her rib cage to open up in a way that she hadn't done in a while. Her husband is named Adam. Think about one of the oldest stories in Western civilization about a man giving a woman a rib. And think about the favorite meal that he loved to cook. Stewed apples. The apple and the rib and the Garden of Eden, all telling more of the story, pointing to her rib cage. All of these points in her story leading back to ribs, rib cage, and rib dysfunction. Her condition: mild, then sharp, then mild, then sharp. The condition keeps returning because of underlying joint restriction and dysfunction in her rib cage. Think about when she said she's holding it together for her kids. She's literally holding her breath in. She is breathing in a shallow way. This contributes not only to her emotional stress, but again, the physical problem that correlates with the emotional stress. It's not that she's just holding her emotions in, she's literally tightening the area that needs to be freed. So what does Carly actually do about this? First, she needs to get her rib cage assessed and adjusted by a chiropractor who knows how to do these adjustments. This is not a general back adjustment. This is a target adjustment to a specific rib that has been moving wrong for more than half a decade. So Carly has been to the ER multiple times for a joint that has never been touched. And the best part about this is these adjustments work fast. She can experience immediate relief in a matter of seconds with an excellent rib adjustment. The deep breath that produced significant pain can instantly become pain-free. Second, she needs to stop sleeping on her side, or stop sleeping on her side without support. Sleeping on her back or sleeping on her side with a pillow in between her arms will be extremely helpful. The pillow will prevent the rib from pulling on her back. She will have more space in between her arms, open her chest, and alleviate pressure from her rib cage. Also, she needs to work on her breathing, using the bottom of her ribs and her diaphragm, and learn how to do this consciously and subconsciously. Practice it first and learn the movement, and then practice it so much that it becomes second nature. When she was crying, her diaphragm was firing. She needs to learn how to fire her diaphragm without having to cry all day. Fourth, address the turtle. The forward head carriage and rounded shoulders are pulling on her spine and her ribs. These joints are being stressed all day long, with her shoulders pulling forward and with her head pulling forward. So working on posture and being mindful of posture while sneezing, coughing, or laughing, and not being pulled forward during those moments can be extremely powerful as well. Fifth, I'd recommend doing something that she's already doing, but just doing more of it. The heart openers. Her body already found the right posture that feels the absolute best, but now she understands why. So when somebody has recurrent upper back pain, chest pain that gets really bad, that's cleared by cardiology, and a flare pattern that has no obvious consistent cause, we need to check the ribs. Think about and ask about history around COVID, coughing, sneezing, any old rib fractures, traumatic falls, bike falls, skateboarding, getting hit in the back during football, hockey, basketball. Think about movements that can impact the rib cage and see if there's any that match when somebody is going through these symptoms. So I told Carly at the end of this visit that there was a road back to tennis. She looked at me as though I had spoke in a different language. She said, "I gave that up 15 years ago. I thought that was just gone." I said, "The condition that made tennis impossible was never treated. It was just allowed to perpetuate, but nothing ever really fixed it. With addressing your posture, your sleep, the movement of your ribs, and your breathing, especially breathing in anxious moments, we can absolutely make positive impact to the point where tennis is something that can come back into your life." And right then and there, she started to cry a little bit again. Her diaphragm had already begun opening by the thought of being able to do one of the things that she had loved most. So everybody at the ER telling Carly that it was just stress, they were not wrong, but they were not fully right either. Being told that there is no path to fixing this is incorrect. So they were correct that stress played a role, but it wasn't the only role, and she was in no way out of options. I delivered a rib adjustment to Carly on that visit, and she felt better right away. Over the next few weeks, we continued to work together, altering her lifestyle at home and doing treatment in the office. She's already picked a racket up. She hasn't played a full match yet, but she's hitting the ball against the wall and feeling better already. These occurrences are very common. Think about the things that Carly was doing: working at a computer, sleeping on her side, doing push-ups, breathing in a shallow way. Those are not uncommon things in modern age, and the impact that they have is not uncommon either. So if you, somebody you know, or your patients are experiencing these symptoms, just know that relief is very possible. I can't wait to see you all next time, the next episode of Feeling Good Feels Good.
Welcome to a state of feeling good. It's how we live and how you could. Just know it's how we're all meant to be. If things are off, listen to your body. It can tell us exactly what we need. Physical, emotional, nutritional, or mentally. No need to worry, it's reached accessibly. No matter how you felt or what you've heard, well-being's for everyone, it's what you deserve. Ease and joy are yours once it's understood. No need to fear, because feeling